Hey, what's going on, folks? Forest Green here. Today I'm here to power scale this beautiful but yet deceitful caster, aka Medea, from Fate Stay Night. Now, if you guys enjoyed this series and enjoy Fate Stay Night scaling and would like me to do more scaling in the future, please leave a like, comment down below. Let me know if I missed anything, give me your feedback, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe for further content. Now, I'm going to give you a quick backstory on Medea. Also, shoutouts to Skinny, of course. Can't forget my boy Skinny. He helped me with some of the scaling. So, Caster's real name is Medea. She's a princess tragically labeled as a witch. She's the daughter of King Colchis. I apologize if I butcher any names. But anyway, she's the daughter of King Colchis. She was made to fall in love with the hero Jason by Aphrodite. And she betrayed her father for him and supported him on his journeys. However, she is ultimately abandoned by her lover, and the actions she took afterwards are what cemented her reputation as a witch. Murdering Jason's new bride and the family before disappearing, she was summoned by Kuzuki, and she had the desire to win the Holy Grail to fulfill her own goal by the aid of her servant, who she fell madly in love with, but ultimately they were both defeated in the end of the series. So that's the basic backstory of Medea. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the attack potency and the other abilities that she displays. So for her attack potency and durability, I'll have to break it down because her magic abilities and her magic potency, in terms of AP and durability, they don't scale to her physical attack potency or her durability. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. So in terms of like her magic powers, she should be around like island level, at worst mountain plus, like high mountain level, like very high into mountain level plus. This mountain level scaling comes from Berserker, as it was stated that his raw AP can destroy a mountain with just a swing of his blade. And Saber herself has shown that she can harm and even kill Berserker with mountain busting levels of AP. But you can argue Island Plus thanks to another feat that was performed by another Saber who used the noble phantasm called Excalibur, in which was calced around Island Level Plus. Again, big shout out to Skinny for providing me that scan, which helped with this video. Big shout out to him. So anyway, you can argue Island Level in terms of like Island levels of AP for Saber. Now, how does Caster scale to this? So basically, Caster's magic is very potent and can harm characters like Archer, who is also on par with Saber. And in fact, Saber herself has gone toe-to-toe with Caster, and Caster has been able to give Saber somewhat a fight with her own magic. So this is consistent, as her magic is what keeps her in the game in terms of dealing with other servants during the Holy Grail War. Now, onto Caster's like own physical AP. So her own physical AP is like war level, as her magic doesn't scale to her AP or durability. She is not skilled in hand-to-hand combat, and in fact was getting washed in hand-to-hand combat by Rin, who is like war level plus. And it was even stated that Caster would not be a match for Saber in a one-on-one situation in terms of physical AP, as Caster has no skill feats and no like martial arts backgrounds or anything of that nature. And basically she just wouldn't be a good matchup in just a hand-to-hand combat fight situation alone, which is why she needs her magic to compete with Saber as this. And also, this isn't a contradiction, by the way, because during her fight with Saber, when she captured Saber via using her phantasm called Rule Breaker, they were both going at it, and Caster was not phased one bit during that fight. So war level in terms of her physical AP and durability, and her AP and durability in terms of her magic, is around island level, at worst high mountain level plus. Okay, onto speed. So I'm going to talk about the low end and the mid end. So the low end speed feats is like basically massively hypersonic, so lightning timer, as it was stated that Saber is a win for basically charging 10 meters in a flash and caster is a lightning for finishing her spells even faster. So that right there, if you want to even consider it, is like basically a lightning timer feat right there. Now, I'm more on board with FTL since me and Skinny did our own digging on this. Big shout out to Skinny again. And I'm going to be honest with you folks, this shit is actually consistent. You see, casters' magic attacks are light-based, and magic attacks are stated to be light-based and move at the speed of light throughout the series. As one of her attacks, which is called Rain of Light, also thanks to Skinny again, he has found other scans that suggest FTL more often than not, and I'll link those sources in the description. For example, like moving faster than a thought would suggest FTL if you want to go down that route, which I will provide a link to that too. And again, with the whole rain of light argument, that wouldn't be a name fallacy because I did provide scans to prove that those beams of light that she fires from her magic are FTL. So that's pretty much it in terms of speed. So for her own powers and abilities, we're in for a feast. So I'm going to talk about her more impressive showings with her magecraft. She uses a spell called Rain of Light, as I mentioned, which is one of her bread and butter offensive spells that she uses to create half a dozen of magic circles and fires beams of light at her opponent with quick succession. She can amp this ability, but it would require more mana to do so. Despite being possessed as a dead corpse during the Heaven's Feel movie, she still demonstrates her powerful magic attacks with her Rain of Light and other magic attacks that she displays by creating a giant ball resembling the sun. It's not an actual sun, by the way. Almost like a supernova, which reminds me of Escanor's cruel sun. But it's still impressive that she's even capable of performing such magical feats, even when she's in her dead state and being manipulated by worms. She can also create a barrier called Atlas, which traps her opponents in a dome of magic, which freezes space itself, rendering her opponent completely immobilized and frozen in place. She can create magic shields to protect herself, and these shields were stated to be just as strong as Berserker's skin. She can also fly, she can teleport herself, objects, and people to far distances. She can BFR people and attacks. She can create a substitution, so kind of like Naruto style. Like, there was a situation where Archer blitzed and sloshed caster, and it seemed as though that she basically died from that attack, and she vanished, but it turned out she was in the air, ready to get the drop on Archer. She can create a temple, which allows her to passively absorb energy from other people in order to increase and replenish her mana reserves. She can stop minor attacks in place just by raising her palm, as she did against Rin. She has some form of mind manipulation abilities, such as being able to control her opponents like puppets on a string with her magic strings, as demonstrated when she took control of Emiya's body, and despite him being aware, he was unable to gain control of his body, as Caster had full control of it, and she had entered his mind and communicated with him. She can do this from far distances, as she took control of his body from just a few kilometers, which is pretty impressive. So she took control of him like when he was asleep in his house and brought his ass all the way to the temple. She used her mind manipulation. She used her mind manipulation to cast illusion on her previous master by making him see visions of her origin, and then setting his whole body on fire until he perished. She has sleep manipulation, as she cast a sleep spell on Fujine, who was put under this spell, causing her to fall asleep, and Caster used her as a hostage in order to obtain Saber in her arsenal. She also has some form of Type 3 immortality, as she can heal from severe wounds. Despite her weak durability, her healing factor is impressive in its own right, as she was able to regen and stay alive even when swords are stabbed into her body. And lastly, she can create dragon tooth golems that quickly rise in numbers as if they are almost infinite. So almost limitless, I should say. Though they are kind of fodder, but they are useful in their own right. They keep respawning every time they're slashed down, and they just keep multiplying in size to basically overwhelm the opponent. Now, she can create water versions of these golems, and is actually very dangerous to kill these because it's very counterintuitive, because every time you slash these water golems, they basically just respawn back. So it makes it very counterintuitive for the opponent. So that's it for her abilities. So I'm going to go on to her equipment. She does possess a dagger called Rule Breaker, which contains anti-magic properties. Its main purpose is used for destroying magic contracts, enchantments, and anything magic in nature, as she used this on Saber and stabbed her, destroying her pact with Medea, which in turn, Caster took control of Saber and forced a pact with her in order to obtain her command seals. The blade is fodder in certain combat situations, such as users who don't use magic or magic-based spells, enchantments, or anything of that nature, rendering it just an ordinary dagger in those sorts of situations. She also has a staff, which she used to cast more of her potent spells, but she has demonstrated she can just use her hands. So that's pretty much it for equipment. For skills, as I mentioned before, she has no skill feats. She's pretty trash in terms of skill, and she's getting washed by Rin. And basically, during that fight, Caster even states if it weren't for Kuzuki defending her and basically saving her in that fight, literally Rin would have just washed and completely killed Caster. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about her feats. So Caster, she's bodied and killed Ryder, which was another servant, like Shinji's servant. And Ryder's pretty impressive in her own right, but she got pretty much butchered and killed by Caster, in a very gruesome way. She outperformed Rin in terms of magic, which Rin states that even if she combined 100 gems, it wouldn't do anything in terms of a magic duel with Caster. So Caster, in terms of a magic fight, is just an all-around better combatant, because her magic's just second to none. It's just so good. Her magic powers, as I mentioned before, are just so good. Even in these situations where Saber, Archer, and other servants who could just take her down, her magic is what keeps her in the game. So it's very impressive. Another feat is that she was able to create a territory, which is the temple she created, which drained the people of Fuyuki City of their energy and basically constantly replenished Caster's mana. She was able to sever a contract with her previous master Magnus, who used a command seal to end her life, and it didn't work. And she flipped the rules of the Holy Grail War by taking the role of the master instead of the servant, thanks to the noble Phantasm Rule Breaker. So that's pretty much it in terms of her feats. And also she's very manipulative. So the weaknesses, she has no physical feats. She has limited mana to work with unless she has a master with her. She's very cocky and arrogant, which leads to her enemies getting the drop on her and pretty much excelling in the fight. And of course her soul draining abilities do require some prep time. Her magic does not scale to her own physical AP and durability, which means she can get killed by fodder conventional methods. Overall, Caster aka Medea is a very impressive character in her own right, and a very charming and interesting character in Fate Stay Night. So that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. If you guys have any suggestions, just leave it in the comment section, and of course, subscribe for further content. Forest Green, signing out. Peace.